I pretty much faked my way through high school. I pretty much faked my childhood because that's not who I was. But that is who I had to be in order to not get bullied or in order to fit in to society or to fit into my parents' expectations.
What do you think are some of the specific benefits, or challenges, or like tell me about the unique situation of being a teenager here in Hinton?
There's just not much to do. We had the bowling alley that was closed for a good while under reconstruction. They have the pool, they have a little skate park. They just don't have much to do in this town. So if you have youth with not much to do, they're gonna cause some mischief somewhere.
Yeah.
I think that would be kind of avoided in the city because you have more areas to go to. I think you just have more activities to do, whether it be just to go roam the mall. You can go bowling, you can go mini putt, you can do laser tag. Like there's just additional things that you could do in the city compared to a small town.
James Everett is the youth center coordinator in Hinton. He grew up in a similar sized town out of Ontario, so his perspective is interesting as both someone who understands certain qualities of small communities in general, while also being a newer set of eyes on Hinton. The youth center is considered by many to provide a vital service to our young people.
I've had a lot of youths call this place a second home. They'll refer to it as their second home. They'll come after school, they'll get homework help, they'll get supports from me, they'll sit down in my office with me. I'm kind of an open ear for them, and same with our other casuals. We have a few other casuals that are just fantastic at listening and getting through to the youth.
Getting through to youth can be a tricky thing for a lot of us adults, even though we used to be youth. The passage of time, hormonal development, experience, and other things that bring maturation often make it difficult for us to relate to younger people.
So do you know how old we are when our brain is fully grown?
I've heard it depends. I might be wrong, but it's like 25 or so.
Yeah, it's like 28, they reckon now. Yeah, about 28 years old.
Despite the neurochemical differences, some people are great at connecting with younger people.
There's a lot of qualities you have to have, and a lot of the youth do mention that, like, oh man, like you go through a lot, James, you have to listen to them scream and all this daily. But I don't know, it's a passion of mine ever since I was in university. I wanted to do law, but I was doing criminal justice, and one of the classes I took was policing the vulnerable populations. And then one of the topics was the youth. We discussed a lot of crime came from the youth not necessarily having like the best upbringing.
The causes of youth delinquency, truancy, and even criminality are multifaceted. The often discussed dichotomy is nature versus nurture. But most scientists agree that it really isn't nature versus nurture, it's a collaboration between these two elements.
There's like predispositions to alcohol, predispositions to drugs, like predispositions to a lot of negative things that can be triggered. Your genetic can be triggered through that stress. And if you don't know how to deal with that stress, there's a higher chance that you are going to experience drug and alcohol abuse, per se. Like there's so many factors that impact your mental well-being.
Hormonal development during teenage years is universally agreed to be one of the most fragile and important processes one goes through in their life, and tampering with it chemically, such as through alcohol, marijuana, and even unprescribed stimulants, runs a great risk. But there are risks that manifest from the social and intrapersonal spheres as well. Depression and anxiety can wreak havoc on young minds.
I think a lot of kids experience that, and I want to be part of the change to that and to the system, especially in a small town. It's so prevalent because in small towns there's groups, like people group together, like there are cohorts. Essentially, if you're not popular, you're getting bullied. And that's, I think, part of the small town stigma, I guess you could say.
Bullying and antisocial behavior often extends into the digital world as well. Hannah Fitzgerald, who runs the Community Helpers Program, which is specifically designed to prevent youth suicide, articulates this point well.
They're so misguided when it comes to what is presented to them, especially with social media, especially with, people's lives on social media and what that looks like in comparison to what really goes on. And there's definitely a disparity between the two, and they compare themselves. From the same vein, there is also a very dark side of social media. We just lost a beautiful girl in the UK. She was 14 years old, just this last week, who disappeared down the rabbit hole of suicide ideation on Instagram. Although it's against policies and procedures, these accounts still get through, they're still active. And for someone who perhaps is having a tough time and in a bit of a crisis situation themselves, you know, they can really kind of focus in on the dark things. Definitely for kids, I would say what they see out there, what is presented to them is almost never the truth, and it's never real.
So with that said, what's the answer? It's clear that good mental health is desirable for youth, not only for where they are in life now, but for the future they, like harbingers, will bring with them into the next generation. We have a responsibility to younger people because they aren't usually as wise and experienced as their adult counterparts. They usually don't have as much autonomy, and they are on average much more impressionable. I asked JC Mitchell, who at the time of her interview was studying for a bachelor's degree in psychology, which she is now graduated with honors, what would be best to do to optimize mental health in our young people?
Schools need more resources, and I think that like when I was in elementary school, when parents got divorced, we went to the Rainbows program, it was called. And like it was sweet, but like it was only like the divorced kids club pretty much. So like you had ice cream and like she talked about your feelings and stuff, but what about for the kids who have broken homes but their families are still together? There was no resources for that. There was only resources for kids who had divorced parents, and your parents had to sign this. Psychologists need to go in, and teachers, and you need to regulate the stigma of mental health in a way that is acceptable for them, and kids know that they have someone or something that they can go to.
I asked James Everett what issues got in the way of better mental health for youth.
I think lack of support is definitely one of them. Another one is just the parents not necessarily understanding that times have changed and that times are a bit different than when they were going through what their youths are going through.
When I talked to Hannah about what supports should look like for youth, she added some nuance to the discussion.
I think we mistakenly think that more money, more government resources, more counselors, more would make a difference. Yes, it probably would, but that percentage, especially in the age group that I work with, that percentage of people that actually will access those resources without any other support first is so small that you could have a counselor for every person in this town, and in theory, only 1% of them would ever access it. Less than 1% of 12 to 30-year-olds will actually reach out to a professional for help in a time of crisis. Around 50% will reach out to their peers, trusted adults, friends, family, aunties and uncles. And about 45-ish% don't talk to anybody. So what my job is when I go into the schools is to equip those kids who are the natural helpers to be able to help their friends without taking too much on their own shoulders, by making referrals, by being a safe place for their friend to talk, but also to equip those that don't talk to anybody about their problems to be able to support themselves in tough times. I believe peer support, peer empowerment, not just support, because support implies that you're kind of holding someone up, whereas empowerment is more you're giving them the skills and the tools to be able to stand on their own.
So what does peer empowerment look like?
Peer empowerment for me looks like a group of people that any one of them at any time can have been through a tough time or might be heading into a tough time, and stronger together. So that's really where my focus is. And although my program is focused on 12 to 30-year-olds, we are a youth program. I actually train anybody because everybody knows someone within that age group. It might be a neighbor, it could be your nephew, your grandkid, someone you work with. So I actually take the program outside of the schools and offer it to organizations, like I just trained victim service advocates. I honestly think peer-to-peer stuff is kind of that beautiful in-between point that we should be focusing on.
Mm-hmm. What I find beautiful about this approach is, other than its inherent practicality, is that it has tacit faith in our young people. Programs like Community Helpers, through options, highlight self-efficacy, and places like the Hinton Youth Center offer a great opportunity for those skills to be developed.
It's important to have a safe place for them to go hang out. They get a lot of access to items here that they don't necessarily have at home. We like to incorporate a lot of their activities and their voice into our activity schedule.
And that's the key. Professional resources, community places, teachers, employers, we all have a role in shaping good mental health in young people, but the primary shapers are the young people themselves. We can help them, but we can't walk the path for them. This lesson applies to adults helping youth as much as it applies to youth helping youth, or adults helping adults.
So you leave all of the power and all of the responsibility with the person you're helping, and don't take any of that on yourself. Oh, I just hit my microphone. Don't take any of that on yourself. It kind of does two things, because it helps the person who's doing the helping to be able to help more healthily without, kind of going under with someone. But it also helps the person that you're helping, because they retain that power and that responsibility for their own success. They're basically participating in their own rescue.